So, some things that really stood out to me from the actual article 75 years ago. First of all, just right off the bat, is mind-blowing. The intelligence office of the 509th Bombardment Group at Roswell Army Airfield announced at noon today that the field has come into possession of a flying saucer. I mean, this is just an incredible statement right off the bat. Right there in paragraph 1, 75 years ago, in the Roswell Daily Record. Then in paragraph 3, Major Marcel, who we've all heard of, and a detail from his department went to the ranch and recovered the disc, it was stated. After the intelligence officers here had inspected the instrument, it was flown to higher headquarters. It's a very mysterious statement right there. And then this couple that witnessed the UFO. I'm not sure I've ever really heard of them. We've all heard of the rancher. But how many of us have heard of Mr. and Mrs. Dan Wilmot, mentioned here in the article from 75 years ago? They were sitting on their porch that Wednesday night, 10 o'clock in the night, and they saw a large glowing object zoom out of the sky from the southeast, going in a northwesterly direction at a high rate of speed. It was in sight less than a minute, perhaps only 40 or 50 seconds, 1,500 feet high, and they estimate going between 400 and 500 miles per hour. Now here's the thing, this testimony would stand in direct contradiction to the headline the next day that this was a weather balloon. There was no weather balloon moving at 400 to 500 miles per hour. If this was indeed a weather balloon, then clearly Mr. and Mrs. Dan Wilmot were badly mistaken on what they were seeing. The object came in view from the southeast and disappeared over the treetops in the general vicinity of 6 Mile Hill. I can tell you right now, also, I don't think if you saw a weather balloon at night that you would call it as zooming across the sky. I also don't think that the weather balloons of the time would have been glowing from the inside. Now, I will admit, perhaps if it was a weather balloon, it could have been struck by lightning. But I feel like if somebody saw a weather balloon at night, on fire, mind you, from a lightning strike, it would just look like a weather balloon on fire, moving across the sky. I do not believe it would look like a huge flying saucer zooming across the sky, 1,500 feet high, at 400 to 500 miles per hour. So I think that's one part of this case that has not been given enough attention, and that is the testimony of Mr. and Mrs. Wilmot, who were eyewitnesses to the UFO, or in today's lingo, to the UAP, the unidentified aerial phenomenon. Now, another thing I found fascinating was this revelation at the end of the article. The announcement that the RAAF was in possession of one came only a few minutes after he decided to release the details of what he had seen. He being Mr. Wilmot. So Mr. Wilmot did not want to reveal that him and his wife had witnessed this UFO streaking across the sky. Is it just a coincidence that only a few minutes after Mr. Wilmot decided to release his story, that the RAAF decided, hey, we're going to put it out there in the newspaper? It seems too much of a coincidence to me. Also, I've never really heard this properly explored. How is it known that Mr. Wilmot was going to put this out there? And what was the connection between that and the RAAF release a few minutes later? I'm intrigued by this revelation that these two things happened within minutes of each other. I would love to know more about that. So, Here's to the 75th anniversary from Tuesday, July 8th, 1947, the infamous Roswell Daily Record headline, RAAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region. Hope you've enjoyed this broadcast. Be sure to check out our giant-sized 100th episode when it comes out near the end of July 2022. Remember, this podcast is made possible by the generosity of listeners like you. Check us out on Venmo at Bigfoot UFO.
All things unexplained.